Hey everyone, welcome to another Tutor Ramble video. Today we're going over the top 5 reasons why people love science fiction.
And the 5 reasons why people hate science fiction.
A little dramatic. And to balance us out, we have a special guest, Library of a Viking, with us. Say hi, Library.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the channel. I feel really honored.
Pleased to have you on. This is going to be a lot of fun. You guys ready to get into this?
Definitely. Let's get into it.
Richard, take us away. What's reason number 1 why people love science fiction?
The realism of the world building. Typically in fantasy, for example, there are endless opportunities, and when you have no boundaries and no rules, it tends to leave an unrealistic world. Where science fiction, it's boundless, but within boundaries. The realism also adds to a more scarier aspect of the world building. Sci-fi is typically known for its dystopian futures. Because it's based on possibilities of our own world, it hits a lot closer to home.
The second reason why people love science fiction is that it often offers an interesting take or critique on our current political or social or cultural issues, and we have many books that will often address questions such as, what if we don't stop climate change? Or what will happen to the human race if AI keeps developing, and how will that impact everything? Now, I often found science fiction really allows authors to analyze and discuss both complex and controversial topics in very thought-provoking ways. Authors such as Asimov, Frank Herbert, and Ursula Le Guin are famous for their analysis on climate, science, and gender, and so on. However, my favorite science fiction / dystopian novel is actually 1984, which is a terrifying read that analyzes a potential future where the state has the power to control everything from our actions to even our very thoughts. And this theme is massively explored since it is set in a futuristic setting, which makes this feel scarily realistic.
Now, reason number 3 why people
love science fiction is it's super intelligent. I find that science fiction authors happen to be some of the most intelligent writers in writing. Example, A Fire Upon the Deep. And there's books like Hyperion and Dune, and the list is endless.
Mark Lawrence's Red Sister series.
Hell yeah. All of these authors share one thing in common. You have to be very intelligent to pull off a believable science fiction world where you have to understand terms, you have to understand a bit about science and how space works generally, and you have to have this amount of grasp to where your reader can suspend their disbelief and go, oh my goodness, this is how it would be if there was this sort of technology. And it's super impressive, and I always feel smarter. Just a tiny bit smarter. So I go from like 2% brain capacity to 2.5 every time I read a good sci-fi novel.
That is the point of reading. The point of reading is to feel superior about yourself. Superior to others. That is the point, and sci-fi really does get the job done.
It's great stuff. Now, Library of a Viking, how about you take away number 4?
The fourth reason why people love science fiction is that it offers a way to escape from our everyday lives and experience something completely different, which I also do think fantasy does provide. Now, when you open up a science fiction book, you are transported to another world where you might be exploring futuristic technologies or alien cultures or space travel, which really allows us readers to get fully immersed into something totally different. There's just something so special about picking up a book and escaping from our everyday lives for a little while. There are very few genres out there that allows us to escape reality such as science fiction does.
And reason number 5 why people love science fiction is the scalability of it. Typically, science fiction has the grand epic scales. It's known for its big space operas, its world-ending dystopian humanity's on the line, the planet's gonna be wiped out. That kind of epic storytelling typically makes people very excited. I know myself, I always like a good story where humanity itself is on the line.
Hell yeah. And it really is unparalleled in other genres. It can be delved into in other genres, but sci-fi seems to be the most dire consequences.
The most dire consequences in a fantasy story would be the world ends. The most dire consequence in science fiction is God dies.
The universe ceases to exist.
And not just ceases, never once was made.
And never will be again. It's just, okay, let me set that one down and go read Harry Potter. where only it's the fate of these little magic dorks. I don't know. All right, and now we're about to get into 5 reasons why people absolutely hate science fiction. You ready for number 1, Richard?
Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, now reason number one why people might hate science fiction is that world building can often get in the way of character development. Now, although these science fiction authors are incredibly intelligent and these worlds are massive, it's epic scale, sometimes you get lost in the weeds of not being able to connect down to that family drama, the dynamic, the friendships. It can be pulled off, certainly, and there are some phenomenal sci-fi books that do that, but the genre has a more difficult time getting there, I've noticed. I don't know about you.
Exceptions don't make the rule.
Right.
Typically, you're reading science fiction for the message, the world, the experience. You're typically not reading sci-fi for the lovable or intriguing characters.
You're there for the gravitas.
Yeah.
Library of Viking, how about you take it away? Reason number two why people hate sci-fi.
Some people might hate science fiction literature. The genre kinda has a reputation for being overly serious or dystopian. Obviously, not all sci-fi is dark, but I mean, I'm pretty confident that most readers that enjoy sci-fi books enjoy it since it is a genre that frequently analyzes philosophical questions and provides social commentary. But for some readers, sci-fi can come across as a genre that is just a tad bit too depressing at times. Science fiction worlds are often bleak and somber, and especially dystopian novels, obviously, are often set in very depressing settings. Now, one book that doesn't really fall into this category is Project Hail Mary, which is one of my all-time favorite science fiction books. The reason why I love Project Hail Mary is because this book actually celebrates science and humanity rather than overly critique it. In this book, humans come together to try to do the impossible, and the marvels of science is really what allows these characters to overcome some really significant challenges. Yes, the challenge these characters are facing is a dark challenge, but the response is hopeful. So obviously, that is just an example that not all sci-fi is overly dark. But if a reader is looking for a more fun and upbeat read, generally, and here I'm emphasizing generally, science fiction may not be the genre for them.
That's a really good point. Now we're going to get off to number 3, is the steep learning curve that science fiction typically has. I don't know about you, but when I'm reading A Fire Upon the Deep, I actually have a dictionary next to me. I have the dictionary app on my phone just sitting next to me because I have to check it a couple times a page. It's hard. Reading science fiction is very, very hard. There's too many words, too many things I don't know anything about. I feel like I need a PhD to read it. I get that. It's a problem sometimes.
And it doesn't help that we're just generally stupid.
So yeah, if you're stupid like us, sci-fi can sometimes be a struggle.
We still love it, but it's something that makes us feel insecure, you know? Good points, Richard. Library of Viking, how about you take away number 4?
It can be confusing or difficult to understand, and I know Richard and Austin did touch on this, but I'm specifically talking about the overuse of scientific terminology, or jargon as I like to call it. Now obviously, science fiction books need to have their own terminology, because if they used our own language, then that wouldn't be realistic. However, I do find it frustrating if I read a book where words such as quantum slipstream, or technobabble, or warp drive, or cryoships are used in almost every paragraph. Now, I have no idea what any of those terms I just mentioned mean, and if the author doesn't do a good job at explaining what these terms means and why they are significant for the world, then these terms are almost just a way for the author to try and showcase that he or she knows how to create scientific terminology. As stated, scientific terminology is important, but it can be overused, and if it is overused, then it can be quite hard to get fully engaged with the story.
Great points again, but reason number 5 why people hate science fiction is the grand scale, the epicness of sci-fi can sometimes be its own detriment.
Now, wasn't that a positive?
It was a positive. Now, grand scale, these epic, universal, God stakes to the story can also make you disconnect to sometimes the most effective stories ever told is just about a simple toad, or a father and daughter, a mother and her child, 2 friends, and you can get lost in the weeds of caring about this huge multiversal, grand, epic space opera battles, and sometimes to really get a story to touch your heart, you just need 2 people doing laundry and taxes together. That's a bad example because that's a huge sci-fi, actually. But to scale it down, sometimes sci-fi gets lost in the weeds and forgets about the meaningful things like a touching love story or a good friendship, whereas you feel detached to something that is so far removed from you, while those smaller scale ones are more relatable and you can enjoy them. But those are the 5 reasons why people love science fiction and 5 reasons why people hate science fiction. Library of Viking, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. This was definitely lots of fun. We should definitely do something like this again.
And also, if you guys like that kind of stuff, you go ahead and check out Library of Vikings channel, where we actually did another collaboration video on 5 reasons why people love and hate fantasy over on his channel. Go check it out.
Definitely go check that video out. It was a ton of fun to record. Library of Viking has his own channel. Go watch his videos. Go subscribe. And as far as our channel goes, Richard?
Go ahead, leave a comment, subscribe down below, and if you want to support us, you go ahead and check out our Patreon link down below, where we have a monthly movie watch party and also book club. It's a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.